On November 3rd, 2012, I was experiencing the greatest spiritual journey with God. This day was the day I would marry my wife under the eyes of God. During that special day, I realized that God was yet again showing me how gracious life can be, and after 12 years of dating, my best friend Courtney Conzo was now becoming Courtney Kane. And we would live together forever, continuing to embrace God and our Christian lives. Many life experiences have brought Courtney and I together to rejoice in the joy of marriage together. The events that happened during my life that have brought me where I am today with my respect to God are my wife, child memories, and life lessons. During my childhood, I played in a Christian sports league. And I met my wife when I was 13 and she was 12. We have shared a spiritual journey together ever since with God. When growing up, I often made dumb choices and found God through the consequences of these choices. The Christian sports league I grew up playing in was called Cary Youth League. I played all types of sports in the league, but most importantly found God through the scripture that our coaches has instilled in us after practice. After practice one day, my coach Mike read the chapter Luke from the Bible. And in this chapter, Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." This stuck with me at the age of 8. With the spiritual guidance I received as a child from my Cary Youth League, I was able to be a noble young man with qualities of being a young Christian. I was more mature when I met my wife. When I heard that scripture from Jesus, it had an impact on my spiritual journey. As a kid, this made me realize that although the world is full of hate, it is not because God does not know or care about the people in the world. It is that the people in the world do not understand God. And to live a noble life, you must understand this. With the noble life lessons I learned from Cary Youth League, I was able to have the maturity as a teenager to impress Courtney and not be a hormonal teenager. Courtney wondered why I had a strong set of values, and I explained to her how Cary Youth League influenced me to be a strong Christian man. Courtney at the time was unsure about her religion and was very interested to hear about what it means to be a Christian. But interacting with each other, God was often brought up because of her interest, and by telling Courtney about my Christian lifestyle, I had another special connection with God. I was happy to teach her, and through all the talks about God, He gave me the greatest gift I ever received, and that was the love for Courtney I had. The love I felt for her was nothing I had embarked in my emotions before. It was because of God that I was able to find love at such a young age. This gift from God was only kept giving me more and more of over the years. Courtney and I have not only become husband and wife, but best friends. During high school, Courtney and I had a falling out for almost a year because of a bad life choices on my part. In high school, I lost touch with my connection that I had with God, and this made me devalue the meaning of being a Christian. The reason that I lost my connection with God was because I could not cope with my grandfather's death. My brain rejected all rational thought and blamed God for taking him away from his wife, his kids, and his grandchildren. As a result of this, I found high school unimportant and would rather stay up late watching TV or playing video games all night and not care how it would affect others around me. Courtney was always motivated in school and saw this as the path God intended for her and I. She became frustrated with me and could not care less and I could not care less at the time and pushed her away. With God not in my life, this was the biggest life lesson I learned. That without God, I could not have Courtney in my heart. During that time apart from Courtney, my connection with God only became weaker. One night while playing video games, the power went off and remained off for hours. My first reaction was of anger and frustration. After a few minutes, I began looking over at my bookshelf and noticed my Bible. I looked at it and opened it, and out fell the bookmarker of a picture of Courtney. And I realized at that moment, by rejecting God, I was rejecting the gift that He gave me, the love that I had for Courtney. I was rejecting what was most important in life. My life has changed in so many different ways, from rejoicing my faith back into God. I was able to gain my sense of meaning in life and rekindle my relationship with Courtney. With this being able to happen, Courtney and I fell right back into having love and caring relationship. Throughout our relationship, our values and God continue to impact our lives. Courtney went to UCR. We finished high school, but I went to Chaffee. During this time, Courtney and I would only be able to see each other on the weekends. Although this might have been a daunting task for a couple of our age, but of our strong beliefs, we were able to have the amount of trust it would take to be with one another. For me, what it means to be a believer in God and a Christian is to live life by the Scripture. Another way a person needs to do in order to be a believer is to give themselves to God. When a person is able to put God before themselves, they will find out God will allow the things to fall into place. The core message of the gospel that changed my life was Philippians 1:20 through 30. This really hits the core message of the gospel because it means to me that I continue to live my life worthy to the gospel. My life will continue to have spiritual connections with God, and with that comes happiness. This passage from the Bible hits the core message for me because it also talks about suffering and remembering to stay strong. I no longer let death intimidate me, and remember by this message that life can and will have struggle, but spiritual connection with God, and I can get through it a lot easier.